Hey everyone, how's it going? I thought I'd start with some music today. I haven't done that in a while, so I usually start with music on all my live streams, and I kind of lost that. I was doing that back when I was doing interviews a lot, which hopefully I'll start be doing again here pretty soon. Hey everyone, we got Spanish in here, Jose, Vanity, Bonnie Lynn, GSD Puppies, Tammy, Sarah. Got a lot of people, a lot of regulars. I appreciate everyone being in here. Where's everyone watching from? You know, I'm in Nebraska. We're just burning out here, burning up. And it looks like we have a red flag warning. So that means that the chance of us having more wildfires is even higher. Pray that doesn't happen. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep doing the music intros. Because it gets me pumped too, right? Like you can see I have more energy right now. The music kind of like feeds me, so definitely enjoy that. I did make a few upgrades to the 24/7 stream. So anytime we have something coming in for emergency action messages through the military radio, it'll have a little thing that pops on the screen that shows as well as hear it. So if you want to go through the stream later and look back to find it, just look for that little EAM label down in the bottom left corner. And then I also added more alerts and warnings. So some alerts come from the rockets and some come from the missiles. So I made it so on either one, it goes to the Israel cams. So we'll see how that goes. From all over Tampa, Nevada, Arizona, Carolina. You just found out your own facility was on fire. Is that the one down in Texas? Is that Port Arthur? All right. As always, make sure you hit that like. If you're not already subscribed, consider it. We do war updates over on Off Script Radio down there on the bottom of the screen. And when we're off here, basically you can go over there, you can hang out, you can chat, but it has intel, live cams, news, has a news ticker. Anytime that there's an alert, it goes to the cams where the action would be happening. And then obviously it has the intel as well. So we have flight radar and radiation levels and pizza index, Geiger counter, earthquakes, Strait of Hormuz. So there's a lot of information there. And it's really good to just put on and leave on in the background, to be honest. That's similar to what I used to do with some of the sites that I used to do that with in the past. If you want to contact me, it is TriggerSmart HQ on X, or you can send tips or emails to engcwarrior@gmail.com. And I do try to get to all my emails. I know last night Barron announced that they wouldn't really have time for emails much anymore. And I think that's, fairly common. Obviously, he has a lot more people going through that process on his side. But it is a real thing, trying to sift through emails. So, but I do try to answer as many as I can. You just woke up? Good morning in Australia. I feel like I just woke up. I did watch, let's do this first. If you watched the Joe Kent interview on Sean Ryan, which I believe might still be going, put a 1 in chat. If you have not seen it yet, put a 2 in chat. I'm very curious to see how many people have actually taken the time to watch that yet. And I'll do my intro here real quick. Welcome to the live stream. I will be covering updates on the war with Iran that has spread to other countries, and we'll also do some live monitoring. Hit that like, and it helps the algorithm. YouTube is doing a lot of changes right now, and it's hurting a lot of creators. So many channels, even big channels like Mr. Beast, are at anywhere from 40 to 50% of the views and income they were getting before they made these recent changes. And it's hit all of us. It's hit my channel. It's hit a lot of other people that I've talked to across the board. So this isn't just like a case of like one channel getting shadow banned. This is like YouTube wide. And I just want to say you can support in other ways. I know people on the 24/7 stream on Off Script have asked me many times about how they can help or how they can donate and that kind of stuff. On that side, it's not monetized yet. I'm hoping by like mid or end of next week, it should be. It looks like we have the hours and everything that we need. We have the subscribers that we need. So once that's in place, then like super chats and stuff like that can be used over there. But as of right now, the only way if you want to do anything on that side is to donate to this side. And that's all down in the description. There's the ways you can donate. There's an Amazon storefront. You could do super chats during the stream and that kind of thing. But I apologize. There's not like an easy way on that side yet. And then obviously we want to thank those that serve in the military. and their families. And we did have some more fatalities. They were not U.S. fatalities. They were Israel fatalities in Lebanon. So keep praying for the troops, all of them, not just ours, because we have other people being thrown into it as well. Let's see, I'm looking at ones and twos. It looks like it's about half and half. So I think the biggest takeaway from the Joe Kent interview, I would say, is probably that he's basically against us. He's basically against Israel using us to do their dirty work. And he feels like they should be able to be managed by the U.S. He specifically said certain things like trying to overrule the regime and things like that there, and boots on the ground and all that should not be the U.S. So he's very clear in what he thinks and his thoughts on this. And I think Sean Ryan was probably on the same page, it sounded like. So, and he says he did not leak anything. He swears that he did not leak a thing. He said that he was actually still had full security clearance all the way until recently. So, and he said if they were actually investigating him, they would have fired him and then started the investigation. They did not do that. So he thinks it's a fake investigation, and he thinks the leak that came out that said he was being investigated was also fake. So we'll see what comes out of all that. But I think what we'll do here first is we'll go ahead and go through our war news. And I'll leave this stuff up so you can kind of see the intel as we're going through this. All right, this is the last 24 hours. Israeli forces carried out new strikes inside Iran, which have kind of been ongoing, including targeting weapons production and air defense systems. There is a report that came out today. I can't verify it 100%. I've seen it in several places when I was doing my research. But it looks like the U.S. and Israel have accepted that they cannot overthrow the current Iranian regime. And now they're going to go hardcore on the military side of things and try and take out their capability to do anything back. So originally, people were thinking they would install someone there and kind of take over the country or cause an uprising. And that doesn't seem to be happening. Iran seems to keep stamping it down. So as of right now, they basically, it seems like they've given up on that. And they're now going full force, 100% for just taking out all their military, taking out their navy, and making it so that they have to, rebuild over several years and take away their ability to make nuclear weapons or enrich uranium. So we'll see how that goes. I know. Yeah, exactly. Iran can be replaced by BRICS. There's always another leader that pops up, right? So I think it's going to be one of those situations where we're going to blow some stuff up. We're going to set them back a few years. And with all the money they make off of oil exports and everything, I think they're going to be bouncing back here, a couple years out, and we'll probably be doing the same thing again. So hopefully that doesn't happen. There are also reports of, there's a lot of reports saying that there's laws that have been passed. There have been changes on the age for having to go to war in the U.S. for the draft has been pushed up to 42. So there's a lot of people who initially thought they were safe. They were like 35 years old, and they didn't think they had to worry about it because it was like 18 to 25. And now it's gone up to 42 years old. So if you're a 42 or younger down to 18, then you technically would have to be going to a draft if they have one. I've also heard that, like we know, like in Ukraine, their draft goes all the way up to like 60 years old. And that's something we talked about yesterday. So I don't think anyone's going to get out of this if something major happens, but the chance of that, getting to that point, I think is pretty slim. But the fact that they changed the age and the fact that they have passed a law recently, making it it's way easier to be in the military. Some of the stuff that would disqualify you before, they just let it go because they want bodies, right? They want people they can just throw in there. So I just thought I'd talk about that really quick. Reports indicate a top Iranian naval commander may have been killed. It sounds like he was the highest level Iranian commander. Iran continues missile and drone attacks against the region, with impacts reported in Israel and Gulf countries. I think we're gonna actually look at numbers of how many drones and missiles and that kind of thing have been launched towards UAE. Just them alone, the number is pretty staggering. In the UAE, 2 people were killed by missile debris after air defenses intercepted incoming threats. So again, that just goes to show, like the video we watched yesterday in Israel, if there's stuff incoming, even if you're in a technically safe area, the debris alone can kill you too. So you have people that are out filming the interceptions and stuff. You know, it doesn't take much for that missile to get intercepted, and then huge debris, you know, the size of a vehicle falling down on you. So not recommended. Kind of like us in the Midwest. If something happens out here, we're filming tornadoes. Like, it's just going to happen. So people will be on the roof and can see it. Like, actually, I think when we had a big tornado, we had an EF3 go through here last year, and there's so many videos on it. And my brother was up in that area. He was probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 blocks away. And he's just out on the patio drinking his tea, filming it, just casually filming this huge tornado ripping through neighborhoods. I mean, it's a little bit different because it's kind of a one-off, you know, it's only hurting where it is. I get that, but we still shouldn't be doing it. Israel is expanding operations into southern Lebanon. They put more warnings out. There's more people they're telling to leave that area, which makes sense because that's where most of the missiles and the rockets and the drones are coming from. Over 1 million people are displaced in Lebanon. And there's growing fears of a wider regional war. Gulf nations remain under continued Iranian missile threat. This is no longer isolated, and there are missiles that are going long range from Lebanon into even southern Israel. So that's a huge, I would consider that a huge escalation. You're getting missiles from 2 different directions. And the peace talks, they're done. I mean, unless a miracle happens, we had the 15-point ceasefire proposal that went out from Trump and the U.S. And then it looks like, based on everything I've seen so far, everything's been rejected. So, and that's going through Pakistan. So Iran has rejected or dismissed everything in that proposal. And they're maintaining that there's no talks because basically the U.S. is saying, and Israel are saying, we want X, Y, Z. And Iran is saying that's impossible. That's one-sided. We get nothing out of this, and they don't want to have anything to do with it. Iran's demanding end of attacks, recognition of control over Hormuz, and compensation. There are other countries now coming out, and they're saying specifically that the Strait of Hormuz should not be controlled by Iran because all the different countries have transport to go through there. And I would agree. You know, I don't know if one country should be controlling anything like that when it's an international port. U.S. officials say a deal is still possible. Probably not. And Iran says negotiations are not happening. That's a lot more probable. So basically, diplomacy is stalled, and I don't see it going anywhere, to be honest. And some think it's just, they specifically think it's just a distraction. They think they're going to try and like reel them in and say, hey, let's have talks. We're on the same side with this. We want to work this out. And then, like they did before, you know, bomb all the leadership in a building or something similar. Oil and gas markets are being hit hard. Europe is facing energy shortages and policy rollbacks. Gas prices have surged dramatically. The OECD warns that U.S. inflation could rise 4.2%. So I don't know about you, but typically most people, when they get a raise, at least lately, it's between like 2 and 5% maybe. So inflation could rise as much as your raise, which means you're not making any more money. Global growth is slowing due to supply disruptions. So basically no ceasefire. We have active strikes on both sides, expanding regional involvement, and economic fallout is accelerating. So let's go ahead and jump into our clips. I want to try and make these new segments a little bit more concise so people can come in later and they can jump in and just watch it all straight without any breaks. So I'm going to do that as well. We'll start here with President Trump. Basically, he's still saying no ground operation, but they have troops already there. They've already sent in the military units, the Marines, and they're already, as far as I know, they're in the area, and there's thousands of them. So if we're not going to do a ground operation, why would you be sending all those people, right? That's millions of dollars to transport them there. But President Trump is considering a significant action soon to shake the Iranians and pressure them to advance the talks. This is in lieu of a ground operation. But if you think about it, with what's already been happening, they've already blown everything up. Not everything, but most of it. They've taken out their ability to launch a lot of missiles and even have any type of self-defense. They've taken out leadership. They've destroyed their navy. So at this point, what else can you do? What else can you actually do to put extra pressure on them? You know, I think at this point it's almost laughable. Just the the thought process here. Like, we've blown everything up, we've killed everyone, and you know what? We're going to do that even like harder next time to make you talk to us. At the same time, Iran's like, no, we're not interested. We'll see if anything comes out of it. Make sure you guys hit that like if you're just coming in. I see some more people. Hit the like and subscribe. Always appreciated. And the IDF is saying that they lost a soldier. Like I was saying, there was a fatality, a 21-year-old, 77th Battalion, Jerusalem, Sergeant Aviad Elkanan Volansky. So just keep his family, you know, like people. This is the thing. When people say that they have something against Israel, I think they mean the government, not necessarily the people. And a lot of these people that are fighting, they're kind of born into this, right? They have to serve their country as part of their citizenship. So we should still be praying for these people. We should still be praying for safety for all of them, you know. And Marco Rubio, he's saying that there's a growing amount of energy that's been flowing through the strait. Not as much that should be flowing, but it has picked up. There was some imagery that was showing that, yes, Russia, China, there was another country, what was it? Russia, China, and one other country, Iran is letting through. So they're officially moving. But the U.S., any allies, all those people are either not being allowed to transit, or they're trying to transit with their transponders off and like make a run for it, or they're paying like $2 million to get through. The IDF has hit more buildings, more Hezbollah positions. They're taking down entire structures on top of leadership, because it's basically the only guaranteed way to get them, especially if they are in bunkers of some sort. Let me zoom in here a little bit. And this is Hezbollah. I want to show you this. This is crazy. Just look at the type of equipment they have. And this is in addition to the ballistic missiles and stuff. Of course, there's music. But just look at this. Look at these launchers. I mean, they can launch, I mean, like, I couldn't tell exactly how many there were, but it looks like they can launch, 20 to 50 at a time from each launcher. Look at that. Looks like 21 maybe. So one guy can just load that up, fire all those, and they're indiscriminate. They don't have a set target. They just hit everything, including civilians, which we've seen recently. Someone said, why don't you intercept the funds? That's what Joe Kent was saying. He was saying if you defund them and those type of things, then they can't be in control, and they can't pull us into stuff. You should definitely go watch it if you haven't seen it. Israel and U.S. officials now believe the regime remains firmly in control, and Israel has stopped targeting internal security forces. Instead, the goal is to weaken Iran's ability to rebuild its army. So we see that shift. So no more regime change. That's not going to happen. Now it's shifted to let's beat them up enough that they can't rebuild. And hopefully that doesn't include civilian infrastructure. And this is a B-1B bomber heading back to RAF Fairford. These are one of our signature bombers that's being used. I think there's 21. I always thought these were pretty awesome, in addition to the B-2s. But they get in, drop huge bombs, and get back out. This is a nighttime picture of an F-35, multiple pictures, getting refueled by a C-135 Stratotanker. And I'm not sure what this, like, Kansas Coyotes. I think they put where they're from, if I remember correctly. So the people that are in this one or that are flying this one or where it came from is out of Kansas. But pretty cool shots. And obviously they have their navigation lights and things. But could you imagine refueling jets and that kind of thing in the dark? That's insane, but pretty impressive. Lots of explosions in Tehran. We have basically nonstop campaigns going on out there. Not much more to say about that. That's going to be an ongoing thing through this whole war. But here's the crazy thing with our government raising our age to 42 for the draft. We have things like this. Iran is reportedly ready to deploy over 1 million fighters if the U.S. launches a ground invasion. I'm sure they're going to have way more than that. So if you look back through history and you look at other wars, it's millions of U.S. men, for the most part back then, that were put into this stuff. So we're looking at, like 10 million in one war, 3 million in certain ones, and Vietnam had millions. So this isn't like just a few people that are in there right now are going. It's over years that there's tons of them. And someone's asking about the draft. We can talk more about that after I get through with this stuff here. And actually, Valhalla did a really good video on it today. So if you watch that, he kind of covers all the details about it. To be honest, he does a really good job. There's plans to establish. There were plans to establish Islamic Sharia law in Texas, and that has been canceled. So this is a good thing. We should not be having Sharia law or Sharia cities in the U.S. I have nothing against, Muslims and that kind of stuff, but this would be like someone walking into your front door with a tent and just saying, hey, we're going to do things my way now in your house. Not going to happen. So this is a good thing. I'm very glad to see that. And then we have some explosions that are set in Lebanon. There has been, it says 200 strikes so far. It's probably more than that, but they're hitting lots of targets that have lots of Hezbollah soldiers inside. So I think the numbers we're hearing of fatalities is probably much higher than what we're seeing. And how do you count, if you have a building with 50 people in it and you don't know how many is in there and you blow it up and you see one guy, you're going to say it's one fatality. So obviously that's the way that war works. We have Senator Tom Cotton saying Iran's terrorist regime was building a missile capable of hitting our homeland within months, not years. President Trump is ending that threat. This is interesting as well because I did see something, I've seen several maps that are saying they already have missiles that can hit like Diego Garcia, for example. There was one launched that direction. It went about 2,600 miles. So they said they were not making those kind of missiles, yet it looks like one was used. So that's the kind of things we're looking at as to why some of these advisors were telling Trump that we need to go in and take care of them. We have more power outages across Tehran. We still have internet out. And Israel Chief Staff Eyal Zamir warned that the IDF is nearing a breaking point after prolonged conflict. He says, I'm raising 10 red flags, stressing the urgent need for new laws on conscription, reserves, and extended service. The reserves will not be able to hold out under these dramatic circumstances. And he added, warning, it won't be long before the IDF is no longer fit to even routine security missions. So I did hear some rumors of 400,000 reserves possibly being called up or at least made ready. And again, these numbers, I mean, if this goes to a full ground invasion that's like protracted over many years, we're looking at millions of people getting drafted, right? We have the U.S. Arab Emirates. They have a travel advisory, reconsider travel. They're at level 3 right now. It's getting bad enough that they're telling people to not even come there. And obviously they depend on that for their economy. So not a good sign. Not a good sign at all. There was an IED, which is a improvised explosive device at MacDill Air Force Base, home to CENTCOM. So there's been a brother and sister that have been indicted, and the FBI is working with their partners. That's from Kash Patel. So again, there's another one of these like terrorist type style attacks that is starting. And then we have Zelensky meeting in Saudi Arabia today. And we know that he's supposed to be going through the Gulf states, and he's supposed to be assisting with drone warfare. So how to use them, and also mostly how to take them out with electronic warfare, or just some strategies. For example, he was saying that there were like 10 missiles being shot at every missile in Israel from the Iron Dome because it's on like an automatic mode. Then he's saying they do it manually in Ukraine. They'll have one guy manually shoot like 2 or 3 at it and actually hit it. So interesting stuff there. I also heard that, actually we'll get to it. We'll get to the other thing. I'll save that. More interceptions. Let's see. We're jumping around here. The Houthi leaders are telling that they're ready to take over the Red Sea and start attacking vessels going through the Red Sea. So this could spread beyond just the Strait of Hormuz. So currently This is the area that everyone's talking about, but they're talking about messing in the Gulf of Aden and also the Mediterranean Sea, like Suez Canal. So they're going to start upping their attacks to make it so that just the whole area is blown up as far as transport and that kind of stuff goes. So not good. Not good at all. And then Trump is reacting to the USS Abraham. He is saying that there were dozens of missiles that were launched. 100 missiles were shot by Iran at the aircraft carrier. And they said that they took them all out. But obviously we heard that there was a fire. So as far as we know, they might have been hit. But they're saying there was a fire that caused the smoke inhalation issues, and that's why they left. But if you have 100 missiles launched at you, is the interception rate going to be 100%? I don't know. Netanyahu is seeking to postpone elections in Israel due to the war. So he wants to use war orders to extend his current reign. Interception of Iranian missiles. There's been a lot of them. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but these missiles are not, the Iron Dome is not actually designed to intercept ballistic missiles. It can, and it has. They usually use aero missile systems for that. But the Iron Dome is designed for rockets and things like that. So the fact that it's intercepting missiles is pretty impressive. Oil's still flowing. Russia, so remember early on they were saying that they lifted sanctions on Russia because they wanted to keep the prices of oil under control. So they lifted sanctions on oil that was up to a certain date, I believe. And Russia's profiting. They made $760 million a day from the war so far because they're able to sell their oil now. So they're getting like, $750 million per day that they're making in profit that goes back towards fighting Ukraine. And we're funding Ukraine to fight Russia. You see the problem? You see the problem there? Yeah. Not good. And then we have more cargo planes. They said over 8,000 tons of military gear has been delivered, more than 200 flights to support IDF operations. That is one thing that Joe Kent spoke about as well. There's just the insane amount of money and resources that we're putting in to fight their war, basically was his words. We have basically next 48 hours, they're planning to destroy as many of Iran's weapons as possible. But that's because Netanyahu was thinking that Trump would actually make a peace deal. And now it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. But the idea is just as much destruction as possible, as fast as possible. That's kind of what we're going with that. Volkswagen is in talks with Rafael Advanced Defense Systems in Israel. And they're doing a potential deal to shift production from making German cars to missile defense components. So that would go along with like a wartime economy. So imagine Ford starting to make missile parts. That's kind of what this is. So this is Volkswagen, and they're supposed to be doing this for Israel. Kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. We have $1.25 billion in foreign aid that was supposed to be for, it was 1.25 in foreign aid. 1.25 billion is now going to be moved towards the board of peace, Trump's board of peace. So they are shifting funds around for other purposes, which is not unheard of. But it is interesting nonetheless. This is part of the wreckage. If you, hopefully no one here had any family or anyone in this, but this was the KC-135. This is some of the wreckage from that Stratotanker, that refueler that went down. They always have music. But this looks like a tail. Yeah, looks like the tail section. But, it doesn't look like it got hit, like exploded, like a missile hit it or something. It looks like it was shredded or broke on impact on the ground. So that kind of goes along with what they were saying possibly happened. And this is the Iranian-backed militia shooting at a warthog with a big cannon. These guys just hang out. They kind of remind me of like frat boys in college. They're like, hold my beer. That's kind of what these guys are doing. Hold my beer. But you get the idea. So that is our clips. And let me see if there's any last second things I need to grab. See if anything came in while we were covering those. It says there's been over 1,000 targets hit by the IDF. We've, just like we saw from their commander, he says that they're running low on resources, but they've done quite a bit of destruction. And House Democrats did not force a vote this week to block President Trump from his war, partly due to concerns they lack sufficient support. So it's looking like the Democrats want to stop the war, and everything's been shot down. So they're not even trying at this point. They don't think they have a chance. And it looks like that pretty much covers it for those. Okay. All right. So what I want to do here, I want to test this out. I don't know how this works. Okay. So I'm letting you know I don't know how this works. So this could be amazing. This could be horrible. But this is supposed to be. Oh, actually, someone asked me about the how the draft works. So let me do that really quick. I'm surprised I remembered that. All right, let's see. So while that's loading, so the thing I want to try is a lot of us online creators, we use StreamYard. So I want to test out. They have this new feature. It's a poll. I don't know how it works. I don't know how you vote. I don't know if it like puts it in the chat and you can respond to that or what. So let's test this out and see if it works. So let's do, is Joe Kent legit? It's kind of a throwaway question, but obviously answer truthfully. So let me show this. Okay, so we see it there. Now, did anyone see anything that lets you vote or anything? Like, I don't know how this would work. That's what I'm trying to figure out is, like, I see the feature, but I don't know how it works. So I don't know if you guys can actually interact with it. So if you can't, let me know. Nope, but I vote one. Okay, so yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that's supposed to work. I mean, it'll be cool once it gets going. Can you guys see it on the screen, though? Oh, wait, I see someone's voting. How are people voting? Oh, you know what? Maybe you're voting by your ones and twos in chat. I think that's what it is. Yep, your ones and twos are making it change. Interesting. Okay. So basically, if it's like a 4-part question, you would put 1, 2, 3, or 4. Yeah, see, it's working. Okay. So we'll see what we get from this. This is kind of cool. Kind of a cool feature. So we have 77% are saying yes. Is Joe Kent legit? Oh, yeah, okay, I see. If I zoom in, it says type 1 or 2 in chat. Okay. Now, that's cool. The reason why this is so cool is because this goes across all the platforms. So people on Rumble, people on Twitch, people on Facebook, they can all vote by putting 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever we decide to do. That is pretty cool. Yeah, I wish I could put it into the chat. That would be pretty sweet. But this allows everyone to see real time on there, and it allows all the different platforms to interact with each other. So I do like that. All right, so now let me see. Let me end this here. Stop poll. All right. And it looks like our final here is 82% say he's legit, which is basically what I expected. All right, I can hide that. All right, that's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like that. Oh, let's see, can I make it bigger? Let me see if that's possible. That would be good to know too. So it puts it in that position. Let me see if I can actually manipulate it. I don't think I can. Let's see. Yeah, there's no way to do anything else with that right now. So unfortunately, that's full size. This is just a new feature that came out that I just noticed today, and they're working on more things like that. But pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let me get rid of that one. It looks like they're adding more things other than just polls as well. All right. That's a good question. Are you able to vote more than once? So if there's 4 questions and you do 1, 2, 3, 4, is it going to take all those? Probably, I would assume. So I think part of it's on that. Let's look at the draft. See if I can get all this stuff set up here. All right. So for the draft, pull that off here. Okay. So the U.S. maintains selective service system. Who must register? All U.S. males age 18 to 25. Now that's going to be 42. And they also voted to make it automatically happen. That was something else that happened recently. It is required by law, even if there's no active draft. It would be activated. Congress has to authorize it, and the president of the U.S. has to sign it, and selective service for it to begin. And this hasn't happened since Vietnam in 1973, which makes it, very unlikely that it would happen again, unless things got really crazy. I don't know what would have to happen for us to have another draft like that, unless we went full World War III with multiple countries. But how you'd be selected, the lottery system, I think this is the main question someone was asking. So if activated, they would use a draft lottery. It works on randomly drawn birthdays. Each of the years get a number 1 through 365. Lower numbers are called first. So if your birthday gets a lottery number 5, you're among the first called. If it's 300, you're much less likely to be called. So basically, the lower the number, the sooner you'll be drafted. And if your number is called, you get an official notice to report. I'm not sure how they send those. I would assume, email, phone calls, texts, probably regular mail if they still do that. You have to go through a medical exam, psychological screening, and background checks. And they've lightened the requirements for this stuff. So, like, they used to, if you did drugs, for example, they would reject you. If you had say you had a swastika on your forehead or something, they'd reject you. But it seems like now they're easing all those restrictions. Yeah, let's see. So you get set for a fit level, student or hardship, or exempt. So either you're deferred. So I don't know if students still get a pass over people who aren't students, but we'll see. And then exempt, medical or other disqualifications. I don't know what those medical disqualifications are. I know it used to be something as simple as like having flat feet, but I don't know. I would assume that stuff is out the window now, but maybe not. We have this new hardcore set of government under Hegseth, and then if qualified, you're formally inducted. So here's some of the exemptions. You can have medical exemptions, religious or moral opposition. Now that's going to be a huge thing. They did a poll, and I think it was like less than 10% of the generation that would mostly be in this are for this war or like pro-Israel, from what I've heard. So that's going to be a big issue there, and I'm assuming they're going to waive this. And then hardships, if you're the only provider for your family. So if you're a husband and you have a wife that's sick and you have kids, then maybe, you wouldn't have to be sent. And then essential occupations, I'm not sure what that is. Maybe, doctors, lawyers, police. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what they consider for that. And then women in the draft, currently, only men are required to register. So that's a big thing because obviously women wanted equality and they want to go in and everything and they want to do combat, but only men currently. And they don't have any plans to change that. So I guess that's a good thing for your daughters. Luckily, my kids are not that age yet. Hopefully, they don't. None of this continues during that time period. But failure to register. Let's talk about this. Let's see if I can make this bigger for you guys. So if you don't register, you have loss of eligibility for student aid, so no help with school. Ineligible for federal jobs, which a lot of people don't work federal jobs anyway, but that would be like even mail carrier, for example. And possible fines, which are rarely enforced criminally. I have also heard of people getting arrested. Now, this is just failure to register, right? So I don't know if they'll cover this here as we go down, but failure to report if you are drafted, I think that's when you run into like possible criminal stuff there. Realistic likelihood. The U.S. military today is all volunteer. A draft would likely only be considered in a large-scale war requiring massive troop numbers. So, again, I don't think that's something necessarily that would happen. Yeah, so that's the main details. I hope that answers your question. Some of this stuff I didn't know either, so definitely cool to run through that with you. And there will be, and always have been, riots. There's always been massive protests. So that's something that, and that stuff happens for smaller things, right? Like the No Kings protest. So I guarantee you, if we got to the point where there was a draft, you would see some like George Floyd level type protests and riots and stuff. Let's see. Do the Amish get to stay out of the draft? Let me look that up. That's a very good question. Let's see. Amish men are required to register at age 18, but are classified generally as conscientious objectors due to their religious beliefs. So they can be drafted, but they're not like first choice because of like a religious exemption, basically. And usually they do non-combatant civil service. So if they do get drafted, for example, they'd be working like on the farms or like in hospitals rather than military combat. Very interesting. I did not know that. All right. Yes. Well, I mean, you could technically, any religion could say it's against their religion, right? Let's see. Are Mormons drafted? I mean, every religion can say that the religion's about peace or whatever, right? But it says, yes, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, commonly known as Mormons, are subject to military draft in the U.S. There's no specific exemption for them. However, 18 to 25 are required to register anyway, and historically missionaries have been deferred from service until their mission is complete. So basically, if you're out on a mission, you're clear until you're done, which is interesting. So, I mean, there's already people on X and other places that are saying they're going to get a swastika tattooed on their face and stuff like that to try and get out of it. I know Barron was saying, you know, probably half joking, but mostly serious, saying he would get his son a passport and move out of the country if there was a draft. So it's something to definitely think about and take seriously. Actually, let's do a poll. I want to do a poll here really quick, and let's do this other one. Is a ceasefire just a stalling tactic? 92% yes, 8% no. And it looks like the ceasefire is probably not going to happen anyway. Now let's look at... The question is, do you have draft age kids or are you draft age? I'm curious to see how many people in here would be on the list. I'm just outside of the top end of 42. And I know a lot of people will say, you know, you don't look a day over 25. I get that all the time. I get it. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I don't have any children. And yeah, I see some people saying like they're 44 and they'd go. You know, there's a lot of people that would serve, but there's many that wouldn't. You know, they're just because of who is like basically leading it, right? For this specific cause. For example, like in World War I, they had like 3 million people voluntarily sign up because they wanted to fight the Nazis. You know, this is different. Like, this isn't like Iran's not like killing us off, right? It's not like this is an existential threat or something. And maybe that wasn't either. But all right, let's see how this poll's looking. It's about 50-50, it looks like so far. A couple more votes come in. But see, that's what's kind of cool about the vote, the poll that was on the screen, because you can actually see it real time. And it actually lets everyone across the board participate on Rumble and everywhere else, whereas this one's on the YouTube. All right, let's see. So the final on that poll, 53% say yes, 47% say no. Someone says Germany was misbehaving. Yep. All right. So I think what we'll do is, let me see if there's anything actually going on. I don't think we have any ongoing alerts or anything at the moment. I really want to get some elevator music or something going, just to play in little breaks like this. I mean, silence is good sometimes. Don't always have to be talking and interacting constantly. But okay, let's see. There's no active alerts in Israel that I can see. It seems like a lot of the attacks are happening, like in the U.S. anyway, like early morning and late evening. So during the regular daytime hours, there are attacks. We had some earlier, and we saw some interceptions and stuff on the cams. That was just like maybe 30 minutes before the stream started. But it does seem like most of the attacks seem to happen overnight, like overnight here and daytime there, which is very strange to me. You would think they'd mostly be attacking in the evening. But maybe, actually, you know what? Actually, maybe evening would be worse, because if you're firing missiles, they're easier to see and intercept and that kind of stuff and avoid during the day or during the nighttime because they're bright. I guess that makes sense. Let's see. Looking for any last minute updates just in case. Okay, so it looks like Trump has officially moved it from, remember initially he said 48 hours, I believe it was. Then he said 5 days. Now he's saying, as per Iranian government request, please let this statement serve to represent that I'm pausing the period of energy plant destruction. So that's supposed to be like a huge attack on Iran. He's going to delay it by 10 days until April 6th. Talks are ongoing, and despite erroneous statements on the contrary by fake news, they're going very well. Now, remember, the fake news is also including Iran, because Iran is also saying that the talks are not going well. So we'll see what happens with that. Pretty interesting. Yeah, that's the latest. So I think what I'll do is, since I have the monitoring set up over on OffScript, I'll probably end this here. And make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe if you're not already. Like I said, the 24/7 monitoring is over on, let me switch over here. Bottom of the screen, OffScript Radio. We typically have, a pretty good amount of people in there. The setup's been working pretty well. It's been pretty stable. I restart it like twice a day, and I do news updates. I make sure the cams are still going and everything. So far it's been going pretty smooth, and I'll be adding Russia and Ukraine probably sometime this weekend. But if you want to keep monitoring and that kind of stuff over there and watch intercepts and everything, that's a good place to go. And then if you want to contact me, TriggerSmart HQ on X and engcwarrior@gmail if you want to email me. And other than that, I want to do a full series on the UAPs. I'm trying to figure out if I want to do it as lives. Actually, let's do a poll. Let's do a poll here really quick, just in chat. So if I do cover UAPs, and I know I get it. Some people are like, it's like a hoax or it's a distraction or whatever. Oh, wait, look at these spikes. So we have 208% spike, 357 and 263. Earlier today, we had 800 and 400. So they're doing something. They're planning something. We'll have to watch that. But I know a lot of people are saying that like the UAP stuff and this disclosure about aliens is supposed to be just like a distraction for everything. But if you see some of the stuff, I don't know if you guys have seen this stuff. That's why I want to do it. Because people are like, oh, I don't care about the UAPs. I don't care about the UFOs. But the stuff that we would see, I guarantee you would be interesting, because I've seen it and I've reported on it before on an old YouTube channel I used to have. And it was super, like it like blew up because people were blown away. They didn't know the stuff existed. So I think what I'll do is I'll announce it when everything's ready. I might start it this week, to be honest. But if you'd be interested in something like that, to see like the unclassified and well-researched with videos and interviews and all that kind of stuff, official government UAP footage and that kind of thing, put a 1 in chat. If you guys don't care or you're not interested, put a 2. Just kind of interested to see what you think. Dr. Hugh Ross, yeah. There's a lot of people. There's what's the name? Ashton. Is it Ashton Grant? He was on. He's been on a lot of people's different shows, but he's the one that saw like the 3 orbs going around the plane to like make it disappear. Like flight, whatever it was. He's real big on that stuff. So yeah, it looks like a lot of people. Yeah, Ashton Forbes. Thank you, Ashton Forbes. So I've been trying to get in touch with him. He's on X, but he's done so many interviews. I doubt he'd be interested in that, but I definitely want to dig into that stuff and show it to you guys because I watched it casually. I was doing like this whole big joke thing. I was like, oh, they put together a website for it. I'm sure it's crap. And then I started looking at it. I was like, hold on a second here. Like this stuff is really captivating. It really stands out. And I think there's a lot of it. They say they know exactly what it is. You know, they'll say like, we saw this thing flying and the military, you know, maybe a fighter pilot saw it. And because of that, we've deduced that it was a pigeon or whatever, right? But there's other cases they don't know what the hell it is. They have a whole report they've done trying to compare it to stuff, looking at its speed, the way it moves and everything, and they cannot figure out what it is. And like I said, there's video footage, like legit actual video footage. It's not like grainy, you know, cell phone footage someone took in the back of their cabin or something, right? Like this is like military grade, like footage of stuff. So I think it looks like there's enough interest in it. I'll get that set up. So I see some of you guys saying he's a plant. Yeah, I mean, I've seen some posts from him where he's not the nicest, but I have seen some interviews with some very interesting stuff. So we'll see. I'm also trying to get Stefan Burns on. So if you guys are fans of Stefan, hit him up on YouTube and tell him to interview with TriggerSmart. Hit him up on X and tell him to interview with me. I've already spoken to him on X before, and he said he was interested, but he was out traveling at the time. So I'll see if I can still get him on. But he has some very good insights on like the sun and the way it affects the earth and the earthquake activity and stuff that's going on, and volcanic activity. I want to get into that stuff too. So, you know, I'm still trying to keep the channel interesting and cover different topics. I didn't want to get stuck on just Charlie Kirk stuff or like just war stuff or whatever. I kind of want to mix it around. So, but I appreciate you guys being here with me. Like I said, make sure you hit the like on the way out. And I appreciate the mods being here, and I appreciate all the members and you guys watching. So, and I'll try and keep the intro music going as well. But I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.